name is Damian John. I was born to Ed John and Sue, now Muirhead. My dad is a Tlazda Nation member, and that makes me a Tlazda Nation member. We live as a people up north in the Fort St. James area of the world on a lake that's now called Stewart Lake. And my mom is German, Austrian, Hungarian, Irish, big mix. Yeah, I've been an artist full-time artist for about 4 or 5 years now, but I've been an artist my whole life, just creating things. I think most of us are some version of creator, so. The Indian Act is this alive piece of law and governance and policy in relationship to how does the Canadian government work with Indigenous peoples. The problem with it is it's built by the colonizers, it's built by the empire, it's built by the military might, and it doesn't really look at Indigenous input from anywhere in the country for the most part, little bits and pieces of it. And it's built around a system of assimilation. It's a way of our government to get Native people to not be Native anymore. It's insidious nature. If you look at it on the surface, it has qualities of this is what Indians get and this is what white people get, and how lucky that Native people don't have taxes when they work on reserve or something like that. That's how it's seen from a really cursory viewpoint. From the late 1800s through to the mid to late middle 1900s, the policies were continually more controlling, more rights were removed, more walls were put in front of Indigenous peoples, and that shifted in the 80s to some degree as we evolved into a more diversity welcoming place to live in the world. That shift has been good, but it's paltry in relationship to the affect of the old versions of the Indian Act. On one side of my family, there's not a lot of problems in terms of addiction and in terms of how to survive in the world. And on my Indigenous side, there's a slew of heavy issues that my cousins and my family deals with on a day-to-day basis. And it's not because they're brown. It's not because of their skin color. It's not because Indigenous folk have a propensity to be shitty or to not want to work or whatever it is, whatever the thing is. It's because of these policies. It's because of these impacts that our government has applied to us over time. And we're reeling. We're in that stage of reeling, and we're collectively in a stage that's pretty free and much better than it was 100 years ago as individuals, and we have lots of agency in how we can move forward in the world now. But people's lives have been ruined, like completely, for generations. It's not just one person or 2 people or 4 people. It's a whole group of people. And there are people within that who have been resilient, who've been amazing, who have managed to take all the trauma and create lives for themselves that are beautiful and awesome. They're still dealing with the trauma. They're still dealing with that thing. It's not like it's gone because they have succeeded financially. There are generations and generations of issues that have shown up because of these policies. And do we have the collective wherewithal to address those things? I don't know. I don't know if we have that capacity as a culture and as a country. I wish that we did. It would be nice to think that we would say we made a major mistake here and move forward with it. But it's outside of my ability to know what to do next, especially as an individual. I think this kind of knowledge making is useful. And then what? Once we have more people know what's going on and what has happened and have an empathetic response to it, what do we do then collectively? how do we heal some of those things? There's little groups and knots of people doing those things all over the country. Is there a way we can make it bigger, better? I'd like to see that, because I know some of the impacts of those things. I have had a lifelong relationship to comics in some way or another. Kind of opened my mind up to universes that didn't exist. Like Jack Kirby had these crazy, beautiful, colorful worlds on other planets, and there was the supervillains, there was the superheroes, there was the tension between those two. They were always flawed, except for maybe Superman. He was never that flawed, but everybody else was flawed. It was always the cover. It was always the cover that would be what is this about? And you can only save the day so many times, so many ways before you have to start thinking, how do I construct a new story device with this character? And one of the ways they did that was they would create a new universe. And then they got into this explorative phase of completely shifting the universes altogether. Like the modern version of it is Spider-Man has always been white, but now in some universes he's not, he's black. That plays into this set of work where I've been thinking all the way along of not just using the covers as a place to draw people into a story that has existed, but also thinking about the covers as creating a storyline for universes that either haven't existed or that could have existed or that can exist. For me, it's been fun to, not just fun, but therapeutic to evolve other ways of thinking about the story that is Canada, the story that is First Nations, Indigenous peoples in Canada, all of the effects from the various governance that our Canadian government has applied over the years. And yeah, I like thinking about alternatives, and not just alternatives of what if it had looked like this, but we always have these choice points. So we're making a new story for the future people to look back on and go, oh, what if they had made this decision? Sometimes you can't control what's happening, but a lot of the time you can control yourself within that broader dynamic. And I think that's what some of these alternate universes did for me, even from those formative years where it was like, oh yeah, there's other ways, there's other stories. We're not stuck in the one. And that's what I'm trying to invoke a little bit with this art project.